What if I told you the greatest financial secret of the last 3 years didn't happen on Wall Street, didn't happen in Washington, and didn't even happen in public? What if the real story unfolded quietly, behind closed doors, in vaults deep underground where no cameras are allowed? Because between 2021 and 2024, central banks around the world did something they haven't done since the 1950s. They bought 3,000 tons of gold. Not billionaires, not hedge funds, governments. But here's the real mystery. Why would central banks who print money, control currencies, and manipulate financial systems suddenly panic by the oldest form of money on Earth? Why would countries that rely on the US dollar be preparing for a world without it? And what if this global gold rush isn't random, but a quiet, coordinated reset that signals the beginning of something far bigger? A controlled demolition of the dollar-based world order. Today, we're going to follow the breadcrumbs from the origins of the dollar to the breaking point no one talks about, to the secretive moves central banks are making right now. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why 3,000 tons of gold disappeared off the market, and what it means for you before the next crisis hits. Section 1, Setting the Stage, where money got its power. To understand why central banks are loading up on gold today, you must understand why they abandoned it in the first place. In 1944, world leaders gathered at Bretton Woods and created a new financial empire. The US had most of the world's gold after World War II, so the dollar became the global anchor. Every currency was pegged to the dollar, and the dollar was pegged to gold. For decades, this gave America unmatched power. Control the dollar, control the world. But beneath the surface, the system had a flaw that economists warned about, but politicians ignored. Countries used dollars for trade. America printed more dollars to maintain global liquidity, and slowly, there were more dollars than gold to back them. Foreign governments saw the problem early. France started converting its dollars into gold, then others followed. By 1971, Nixon was forced to break the gold link. The dollar became a fiat currency, backed by nothing but faith. This moment should have been the collapse of the dollar. But a new system rescued is one most people never learned about in school. Saudi Arabia agreed to price oil in dollars. Every country needed oil, so every country needed dollars. And just like that, the petrodollar was born. But every system has an expiration date, and that date may be now. Because for the first time since 1971, the world is preparing for a future where the US can't guarantee stability, trust, or dominance. And the proof is in the gold. Section 2, Origins of the New Gold Rush. Gold buying by central banks isn't rare. But what happened after 2021 was unprecedented. You had countries with struggling economies buying gold, countries under sanctions buying gold, countries fighting inflation buying gold. But then something stranger happened. Countries with strong currencies, stable economies, and powerful financial systems also joined the race. Singapore, China, Turkey, Kazakhstan, Poland, India, everyone started stacking. The result? 3,000 tons bought in 36 months. To put that in perspective, that's like a group of secretive players quietly pulling gold out of the global system, equivalent to entire decades of mining. Why? Because something changed after 2020, something that told governments the dollar system is entering its danger phase, and that something has a clear timeline. Section 3. The Rise. How the dollar grew too powerful. For decades, America weaponized the dollar through sanctions. Shut a country out of SWIFT, and their economy collapses. Freeze their dollar reserves, and their financial system dies. But in 2022, one moment changed everything, when Western governments froze over $300 billion of Russia's reserves. To most people, this was a punishment. But to central banks, it was a warning. If Russia's reserves held in dollars, euros, and US treasuries could be frozen overnight, then no foreign reserve was safe. Suddenly, the entire world learned a lesson. The only reserve asset immune from politics is gold. Gold has no counterparty, no issuer, no government control, no freezing, no devaluation. And that realization triggered the largest shift in global finance since the end of the Cold War. Section 4. The Breaking Point. WHY 2021-2024 WAS. The Turning Moment. 3 events pushed central banks over the edge. 1. Record global debt. World debt hit over $300 trillion, with the US leading the pack. Countries realized the dollar system runs on debt, not wealth. 2. Inflation hit every major economy. The dollar hadn't seen 1970s level inflation in decades. Central banks realized, if the dollar is inflating, their reserves are inflating away too. 3. The US started monetizing debt, trillions printed, bonds downgraded, interest payments exploding. Countries looked at this and asked, is the dollar becoming too expensive and too unstable? So they started building escape routes, not necessarily to destroy the dollar, but to protect themselves if it collapses on its own. Section 5. Fallout. The shift. Nitrogen monoxide 1 is talking about the fallout isn't a sudden crash. It's a slow rebalancing. Gold is replacing the dollar as a neutral reserve asset. Regional currency alliances are forming. Countries are trading in local currencies. The Middle East is moving away from exclusive dollar oil pricing. China is pushing yuan-based settlements. BRICS is discussing gold-linked trade systems. None of these individually kill the dollar, but together, they weaken the foundation that kept it dominant for 80 years. Central banks know this. That's why they're not buying gold out of greed. They're buying out of Section 6, failed fixes. Why the system can't save itself. Governments tried everything. Money printing, rate hikes, stimulus, bond market manipulation, regulatory changes, political pressure. Nothing fixed the core problem. The dollar system is too leveraged, too politicized, and too dependent on trust that is slowly evaporating. When trust fades, gold rises. Every time in history, ancient Rome, the British Empire, every collapsing currency, gold becomes the fallback plan. And that's exactly what central banks are preparing for. Section 7, Modern Parallels. History is repeating itself. Look at the pattern. 1971. Gold backing removed. 1980. Inflation crisis. 2008. Banking crisis. 2020. Pandemic money printing. 2022. Sanctions freeze global reserves. 2023 to 2024. Largest gold accumulation in 70 years. Every event pushes countries one step closer to abandoning total reliance on the dollar. Even U.S. allies are buying gold at record rates. Not because they hate America, but because they see the system weakening. The story isn't who wants to destroy the dollar. The real story is everyone wants a backup plan, and gold is that plan. Section 8. 3 key takeaways. 1. Central banks aren't buying gold for profits. They're buying it for survival. 2. The dollar isn't collapsing overnight. It's fading in influence step by step. 3. The new financial world will be multipolar, and gold will be the neutral anchor in that system. Final warning, if the people who control money are preparing for a major shift, what does that tell you? What does it say about the next 5 to 10 years? What does it say about the future of savings, currency, and economic stability? When the world's most powerful banks buy 3,000 tons of gold, they are sending a message. The question is, are you listening? Call to action if you found this breakdown valuable and want more deep dives into the hidden moves shaping the global economy. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment with the next topic you want me to investigate. Because the next financial reset isn't coming someday, it's already happening. Stay prepared, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.